Hi everyone. Welcome back to Reality Check. My name is Selena and I'm a licensed therapist.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline and I am Selena's social media manager.
Welcome, welcome. So, this episode, we're going to be talking about the first and second episodes of the show on Hulu called The Bear.
I-
Okay, so Jacqueline, do you want to recap some major highlights of what you noticed in the first few episodes just so our audience can have a general idea of what had happened during those episodes?
Absolutely. From what I can recall, is um, he's a very angry man.
Hmm.
Rightfully so. No, he lost his brother, and and now he's working with his cousin, which he calls brother in the show.
He calls him cousin.
Um, he calls him brother, I thought.
He calls him cousin. I don't think he's his real cousin. I think
He's
he just
not a
calls
real
him.
cousin. He's a friend. He's a
Yeah.
friend that of a family that just stayed on.
Hmm.
Hey, I relate. Um, but yeah, no, he's just very angry. His culinary skills are amazing. I wish I could actually try his food in real life because all of that
Hmm.
looks great. I know he did come from Chicago and he tried to make it big up there. And I'm only on season or episode two, so I don't really know a lot about it, but I have watched one and two. And he came home to run his family's business. And from the looks of it, it's kind of going up and down. He's running it into the ground, but he's at the same time trying to maintain it, trying to like come up with new recipes, come up with new things. But it's hard because he's also dealing with the staffing and he's dealing with a lot of backlash because they're all, he's hoity-toity. He came from Chicago. Like, what's he doing here in the slums in a way? And that's just been really hard to watch him because it's like he has so much potential and so much skill, but he has all these roadblocks.
Yes. Yeah. So the opening scene of the first episode is like him unleashing the bear, which that
Yeah.
is his nickname, Bear.
Hmm.
Um, and he's like opening this cage, right? And then he like wakes up and it's a dream that the bear
Yes.
like lunges at him and then he wakes up and it's a dream. And you
Hmm.
had found an interesting article about what the bear signified. Can you talk about that?
So this article is from Real Mockery. And it's just like a little, like a small, tiny recap that they saw something different that, I didn't see or I'd even look into. But it's pretty much like she said, how the bear begins with Jeremy Allen White, who's the actor. His performance name is Cameron, Camry as they call him, or Carmy as they call him. Walks into the cage and unleashes the bear inside. The bear inside can be anything. It can be his anger, it can be his happiness, it can be who he is. But he slowly lures it out of the cage, and when the bear lunges at him, he wakes up. Um, and he answers, once he wakes up, he's in the restaurant. So it's kind of, I interpreted that as a PTSD moment because some things in the show triggered him to have flashbacks and that stove being lit is a big PTSD moment for him. And not all anger is PTSD, not all flashbacks is that, but I just saw that repetitively of every time that stove, every time he'd hear that tick, 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 tick. He'd just have, you could see in his face the sweats and the panic of don't have it, don't think, and just move on and persevere. You know what I'm saying? So, that's a little bit about what that article touched on was just the bear and the him waking up in the restaurant.
Yeah. So in therapists will say some therapists will interpret dreams as like different parts of our subconscious. So the bear and the anger, it's like this like untapped anger that he's holding inside. And what I noticed in the first episode, I believe, you notice him taking a lot of like Tums, so signaling like he
Yes.
has like stomach issues or like heartburn. One thing to know about mental health is like your mental health and physical health are very much the same. So within Cameron, we're seeing he's having like nightmares. He's not getting regular sleep. He's taking a lot of Tums. Um, he woke up with his apartment on like his stove on fire, which is very
Yeah.
scary. So some sort of
Mm-hmm.
dissociative episode happening there. So yeah, he does maybe warrant a case for a diagnosis of PTSD. I'm not quite sure on that yet, but
Right.
all signs are pointing that way. I mean, that's really scary if you're waking up with your stove on fire. That's really dangerous. And also things that maybe contributed to this potential PTSD diagnosis. We see that Cameron's brother, Mikey, died by suicide.
Oh,
Pretty brutal. Richie says he shot himself in the head. So pretty gruesome. And it's,
yeah.
I believe they said that he didn't go to his funeral.
Mm-mm. They didn't.
And
He did not. He was in
New
Chicago.
York. New
New
York.
or New York. Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
He
in
did
one of
not.
his dreams, I think it was episode 2, in one of his dreams, the tickets were like rolling through. He was like working at the Chicago. The tickets were rolling through. And then
Mm-hmm.
this is when he woke up when everything was on fire. The ticket said, "You killed
You
Michael."
killed Michael. Yes.
Fuck
Mm-hmm.
you. Um, he didn't love you and you should be dead. Right?
Yeah.
Those are intense things to be dreaming about.
Yeah.
So my mind goes, he's feeling very guilty, lots of survivor's guilt with
Yeah.
his brother dying by suicide.
Yeah. And
Uh,
who knows the relationship they had until we keep
yeah.
diving into these episodes. It could have been a whole the brother stayed behind because he wanted to make mom and pop happy, and
Hmm.
Carmy was like, I'm not doing that. That's not my job. We hear that a lot. That's my job. My job is
Hmm.
to live my life and to fulfill my life. And so in doing so, he went to,
New
Chicago, New
York.
York. He did all
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
And then in turn his brother,
Yeah.
took a hit.
But what was interesting to me though is there was conversations between, I think it was like Cameron and Richie,
Mm,
where Cameron had said or Carmy had said
yeah.
he wouldn't let me work here. Like Mikey wouldn't let him work in this restaurant. I think is because, and then Sydney was like because the sous chef
Yes.
was like because he's so talented, right? His brother wanted him
Hmm.
to go and do these things um, and be like the big shot New York chef, and like he won
He
all
was
these
proud of
awards.
him. He was
Yeah,
proud
he
of
was
him.
super proud of him. And so then I think, um, Carmen is feeling really guilty. There was a conversation that he had with his sister, Sugar. Uh,
Hmm.
he like was like selling his jeans and like clothes to get
Yeah.
cash to like save the restaurant, and
Yeah.
asked her like, "Hey, do you have this jacket that Mikey still has?" And in that
Hmm.
conversation, he's like, "I'm going to fix this place." Right? And so he's automatically feeling
Yeah.
guilty for it going downhill. Like all this happened when he wasn't there, he was away, his brother killed himself, the restaurant's going under, they owe $300,000 to their uncle Jimmy.
Yes.
So like he's feeling,
Yeah.
he keeps
He's feeling
saying, and
so much guilt.
yeah, he's carrying a lot on his shoulders. Yeah.
I also want to hit on whenever he was hiring um for another chef.
Hmm.
Um it wasn't a proper interview. Which, if anyone's worked in the kitchen, it normally is just like, what can you do? How much experience? And they just watch you work. But I could tell that during that, and correct me if I'm wrong, she's a student and she wanted to get some hours in. And she was told that he, being as famous as he is, works there. And she looked up to him. And
I think she
because
was newly done with college.
is she okay? Because I know she was saying like you're amazing. Like, I want to work for you. That's why I'm here. Like, I want to work
Mhm.
for you. And he's over here not seeing that.
Mhm.
He doesn't grasp why she's even saying that.
Mhm.
Because he's so stuck in the past of what happened to in New York or what happened in Chicago, and he doesn't see the great potential and the skill set that he does currently have right now. Um, and she kind of reminds him about it whenever she's like, "Yes, chef. Yes, chef." And I know in the kitchen that's how you talk to them, which is a form of respect, but you don't always have to respect. You don't owe anyone anything. And so she didn't have to do that. Half the staff didn't do that. They would just
Oh,
say,
yes.
"Okay, Camry." Yeah.
Mhm.
But she
None
was
of
the
this.
only one.
Yes, I
Hmm.
noticed. I made a note at the end of the first episode, with Marcus. Marcus was making bread,
Yeah.
and the bread
Dry.
was like dry, right? And
Hmm.
so Carmy was like, put a sheet of water in it, it'll help. And Marcus was kind of hesitant, but he did it, and the bread came out so much better. And then he was like, "Yes, chef," to Carmy. Marcus said,
Hmm.
"Yes, chef." And you could just see that like it hit like,
The
oh
light
shit, like I'm
bulb.
finally doing something. Like
Hmm.
I'm making a difference because he comes into the system and like tries to shake it up and like they
Yeah.
have their own way of running this restaurant and he's
Yeah.
like the outsider and they're like, who the fuck are you?
He's trying
And
to make a hamburger into like a hamburger. You know what I mean? Like with the toppings. You know, like he is making something so bland into something so flavorful to
Mhm.
draw the people in, and they are not budging because
Mhm.
they know
He's
their
smart.
town. They know their town. They know their restaurant. They know
Mhm.
what works. And that
Mhm.
relates a lot to life. Like, no one likes change. It's hard
Mhm.
to accept change, even though it could be this amazing hamburger. They would rather
Mhm.
have a hamburger.
Right. And this idea of like fixing it, right? The
Hmm.
system that has worked, granted they're in a lot of debt, so it's in some ways it's not working. However, when you're coming into a new system and you're wanting to fix it, it might not
Yeah,
be what you think it is,
correct.
right? So like Carmi is trying to fix it in his eyes, so he's like getting a lot of friction. The staff is really kind of fighting him on this. They're questioning his authority, things of that sort. And that's where him and Richie really butt heads a lot. Those two, man, they really like all out screaming match.
I
Reminds me a lot of
sometimes,
like Shameless.
yes, yes, I sometimes cannot handle when they're in a scene together because it almost gets to the point of like, okay, we know you're gonna yell, we know you're gonna scream, because they
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of anger and unresolved issues towards each other
Totally.
about the brother slash cousin dying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they don't talk about it, they yell about it. And it's not
They
even
yell about
they don't even yell about it. They yell about other things because of that. Like
it.
example, I'll never forget the scene, the cigarette scene. Shall we talk about
Oh,
that?
yes. Let's talk about the cigarette scene.
The cigarette scene really got to me because Carmy was so set, and I apologize if no one's seen it. This is going to be a lot of spoilers as we are talking
Mm-hmm.
about the movie or the show. But Carmy was so set that it was him.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was
Mm-hmm.
Richie. It was Richie. You did it. You gave us a C. You're the reason why. Blah 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 blah. Blah. And then he had a small flashback and a
Mm-hmm.
small oh shoot moment and was like, it was me. But he didn't
Mm-hmm.
apologize.
Mm-mm.
He didn't talk to
Oh.
him. He just let him take the blame and walked away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, there's definitely like lots of history between these two. Richie to me comes off as very young. He's very irresponsible. He's definitely in this power struggle with Carmy. Um,
Yeah, I think
he
he
is,
thought he was going to take over.
yeah, I think he thought that Michael was going to leave the restaurant to him and then didn't,
Hmm.
and so he's really sour about that. There was, I think it was, who was it? The guy that repairs, Neil, the guy
Oh,
that
yes.
repairs all the things. He was
Hmm.
talking to another of the staff member behind Richie's back, was like, that guy's an asshole. And he was like,
Yeah.
he's described as like not right. And so
Hmm.
Richie has a lot of a lot of stuff. We know that he's divorced and he has a young
Yeah.
child. We don't really know at this point in time, we don't really know a lot about like the history with that, but that's hard.
Right.
We know that he has a suspended license,
Yes.
so
Yes.
issues, I'm guessing, with alcohol. Um, yeah, and the gun scene where he like shoots the gun in the air and is like waving it around, it's very much like a Chicago thing to do.
Yes.
And also
Yes.
like irresponsible. Like shooting a when the bullet has to come somewhere. Like it doesn't just like go into the sky and like fly away. So like
What goes up must come down.
exactly. And so he's
Yeah.
and while he's trying to like assert like control over
Dominance.
these like
Yeah.
this crowd that's dressed up for this video game, he's
Mm-hmm.
also being very irresponsible. And so Carmy knows that he's irresponsible and blames him for this cigarette, but then realizes that like he did it. He was the one that
Mm-hmm.
left the cigarette and got them the C.
Which, and I don't know because I have to get to episode 3 and 4, but I wonder if that is a triggering moment for him as well. Because in the kitchen world, I don't know if you've ever worked in the kitchen, but I have. And that grade means everything. I mean, like grades do in life. But in the kitchen world, that grade is a make or break. It shuts you down or it puts you up. And he essentially almost got them shut down.
Yeah, he's failing. He's not
He
fixing it.
he's not fixing it. And I think when people are trying to fix things and they have a lot of traumatic things going on, you can't fix because you are broken yourself and you have
Hmm.
to fix yourself.
Yeah, he's looking very externally about it. He's not figuring out like would he as a therapist, I would want him to work on these anxieties that he has and these
Yeah.
nightmares that he has and also work on repairing his relationship with his family because he's very
Yes.
much like isolated, right? He
Hmm.
wants he wants help from others, but only to an extent. He wants them to like follow his lead
Yeah.
when he's kind of missing them, right? He's Sugar really is like this caretaker role, but he's not really connecting with her. He's still keeping her at arm's reach, and she is like, "Hey, did you like get this group?" And so we find out that it's an Al-Anon group that she wants him to go to. And we're not quite sure why. I'm guessing probably because of Mikey that she wants him to go to this Al-Anon group. But he's like pushing everyone away in his anger and his guilt, and that's probably going to cause him to feel more lonely in the long run. And it's probably going to be really hard for him to repair those relationships. There's probably a lot of
Yeah.
history there. But ultimately, like what helps build our resiliency is our relationship. So if he, from a therapist perspective, if he could work on mending, I would start with his sister because that would be an easier one to kind of help
Hmm.
build connection with her. Really work on that relationship with Richie. That one's gonna take some time.
I've noticed, and I think she said it, so don't quote me, but she won't come in the building.
Yeah, I think
So
she struggled.
I think what he's doing is, well, if you're not even coming to the building, why should I mend anything here when I'm the one in the building? I'm the one trying to fix this. I'm the one trying to run it, and
Hmm.
you're over here telling me, let the building go. I need to move on. I need to do what I was supposed to do.
Hmm.
Um, and she's just like, I'm not walking in there. I'll meet you outside. I'll barely sit
Yeah,
on the property. So like I
yeah.
understand him wanting to keep her at arm's reach because, you know, she
Hmm.
doesn't want to help.
Yeah, so I think we can think about grief in different ways of like Carmi's way of grieving is to fix it, and Sugar's way to grieve is to stay away from it. It's got to be really painful for her to go in there. And then
Oh,
Richie is just kind
absolutely.
of lashing out. He's got a lot of like outward anger about all of
Yeah.
the things that are happening. He's constantly yelling. So they're all grieving. I think it's like, our trauma can be interpreted and manifest in different ways. And I think we're seeing that very clearly
Yeah,
with the new.
no, absolutely. It's just, I can't wait to see what the future episodes bring us because Right now, it's just a ball of anger. It's just
Yeah.
it's a lot right now. And as
Hmm.
someone who doesn't care to be around anger, sometimes it was hard to watch those episodes or those scenes, I'm sorry, scenes,
Hmm.
because I didn't want to be around it. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to like listen to it. It to me personally was just like, okay, how do I fast forward this? Like, but if you
Hmm.
fast forward, then you miss something big in the scene. So,
Hmm.
yeah, some of those scenes are very hard to watch,
Hmm.
but I did like the gratifying scenes like we spoke about earlier, saying chef, yes, chef, no chef, about the
Hmm.
bread. And then, what really got me was at the very end, um, he made, and I don't remember what he called it. It looked like a po' boy or poor boy, whatever
Hmm.
that food is
Hmm.
called.
Hmm.
And Richie wouldn't eat it, would not
Hmm.
touch it. He would not touch it. He would not eat it. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, chef, like this is great. This is great. And I think
Hmm.
it was an aha moment for the staff to see, wow, he is a
Hmm.
chef. He knows what he's doing. He,
Hmm.
is trying to make this place better. And then when everyone was gone, Richie took a bite and he was
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
damn, like,
Yes. Yes.
damn.
Yes, this is why I think Richie is so young because it feels very much like a so in therapy world, like we say, wherever your trauma is where you tend to get stuck in age. So to me, he's
Yes.
very much like a 5-year-old, right?
Ah,
5-year-old's like digging in his heels, like, no, I'm not
mhm,
going to be a part of this. Like, you can go
mm,
play by yourself. But then when no one is looking, because he actually really wants to taste the sandwich, he'll taste
mhm,
it. And then he's proven wrong, right?
mhm.
Because he's digging in his heels. He doesn't want him to be good. He doesn't want this a sandwich. He doesn't want change. But then when he
Yeah.
eats this sandwich, he's like, fuck, it's good, right? And so this
Yes.
little kid like sneaking behind mom's back to like eat this thing that he like
Mm,
refused to eat earlier when everyone was watching.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he's like, he's realizing that Carmy has skill and Carmy does know what he's talking about. And so he's
Mhm.
gonna have to learn to trust him because he
I
doesn't.
almost, I feel like if I could redo it all, I would, because this is, I guess, what I would do. If I was Carmy, I would walk in there and I'm all about meetings for some reason. And I would have a meeting and I'd be like, all right, look, guys, I came from New York. I came from Chicago. I came from blah, 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 blah. Like, this is what I can do. You either let me show you or you get out. You know what I'm saying? Which is not
He
the
would be left
best.
with, I think he would be left with no one.
That's what I was gonna say, which is not the
Mhm.
best, but I believe Richie would stay.
Mm.
I don't think Richie would go.
Yeah, I
I,
don't think Richie would either, because he's very much tied into this restaurant. Because I think
so
this is his last nugget that he has of Mikey.
yeah. And then the very, very end, I know there's so many very ends, um, is that letter. I
Oh,
want
that
I haven't
letter.
seen it. I haven't seen it. I don't know what's in it, but
I so I have seen the whole, but it's been a while since I've seen the first season. But the fact that he like
put it
Richie
back.
finds a letter, puts it on his desk, Carmy's desk, and then decides that he's so angry with Carmy that he doesn't deserve this letter, and then puts it back to behind the thing
It
to
was like
not
it
be
was meant to be
found.
there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think it was sorry, I dropped my pen. Uh it had Carmi's name on it, right? And it was obviously it's from Mikey, right? This
Mm-hmm.
their
Brother,
dad
cousin.
brother, cousin,
Mm-hmm.
friend. And Richie is just so angry with Carmi that he strips him of that like privilege to have Mikey's probably, I'm guessing, his last words.
I think that's interesting you say the word strips them of it because I was looking at it as more of a not a right time, right moment type of deal.
Mm. See,
Like
I'm interpreting this as he's angry
yeah,
because
and I,
Richie didn't get the restaurant. It's like a fuck you to Carmi. I'm not going
mm-hmm.
to give you the last words.
Yeah, but I think it's more like a not a right moment. I think Richie's waiting for that moment because maybe a part of him wonders if in that letter is psych, Richie's supposed to be running it. You know what I mean? So like I don't know. I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe it's one of those, or maybe it's another one that's like Carmy's running it. Thanks, brother. I love you. Work well. Like I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
You'll see. You'll find
We'll
out what's in the
see.
letter.
Yes. Well,
That someone's anger.
I know. We'll have to see on the next episode if they open the letter. I don't know. But with all that being said, this has been a great episode, I feel like. We've covered so much, mainly trauma and yelling, and
Drinking and yelling.
and I hope that you all have some feedback and let us know in the comments what you think and how you related to the bear or didn't relate.
Or questions that you have about mental health that you're seeing inside of these two episodes. Let us know. We want to know.
Mhm. Let us know. And just please, please, please remember that we encourage you all to get your own therapist. She is not your therapist.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Make sure that you like us and follow us on YouTube, and make sure that you follow us on Spotify and tell your friends about us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this is Reality Check.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.